Welcome back, y'all. It has been 4 months at least since I've put an episode out, and there is a reason why. You've probably been wondering what happened? Where did I go? Will there be another episode? And in a way, I was wondering that too. I've been in a deep personal and professional process for a few years now, really. But it all just became so clear, and I got so deep into this area of work that I just needed to pause and integrate so much. And I'm here to tell you about that today. I'm here to talk about neurodivergence and what that means and why neurodiversity belongs in the healing room. I will break down some of these terms and why it's been so important for me. I'm going to try to do this episode a little bit different than most of my episodes where I just kind of go by the seat of my pants. I have a little structure here because talking about neurodiversity is a new theme for me. I've been studying about it for years and years, and it's been a slow kind of processing of what neurodivergence means to me in my own life and what it means in supporting my clients. And the pause in the podcast was I've been focused on trauma for decades now in my practice on complex trauma and supporting folks who work with the impacts every day in their lives of complex trauma. When I learned about neurodivergence on a deeper level, it really took me back. I realized so much of what I was looking at as trauma in a lot of my clients was neurodivergence. And it was one of those moments as a clinician or a practitioner where I just went, oh no. Oh my goodness. Why did I not learn this in graduate school? Why did I not learn what to look for? And there were maybe 5 clients I could really think of over the last 19, 20 years that I undersupported and underserved because had I known that they had some flavor of neurodivergence or neurocomplexity, that I could have served them better. And so that's why I want to talk about this because this podcast, a lot of you are either practitioners supporting clients with complex trauma and likely neurodivergence. And a lot of you are people who have been in your own trauma healing journey for decades, maybe, and feel like you haven't gotten very far. So I want to give some answers here. When I learned for myself that I am neurodivergent, it was like watching a slow storm roll in. I started learning different flavors of neurodivergence, and I had some acceptance around some and not much around others in myself, meaning that I knew that I was highly sensitive, which some folks see as neurodivergent. I knew that I pretty likely had some flavor of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I knew that I had sensory processing differences. And I started to think about autism. But because of the bias and the stigma around it, especially set up by mental health practitioners and then the world around, I it was too scary for me to look at. And so these next several episodes, I'm hoping will bring a light to that because the reality is that it's actually pretty special to have autism, or what we would say these days is be autistic. And so when I was diagnosed, I actually realized I am AuDHD, which means autism and ADHD all bundled up together in its own neurotype, its own specific type of wiring in my brain. And it made so many pieces come together. There were so many months when it really hit me, when I went, oh my goodness, this is right. This is real. That I felt such relief. I felt like everything made sense finally. But it was working through the stigma and the bias of what being autistic meant in the world after so many years of feeling like I didn't belong and feeling unsafe in the world, just as I was. Being autistic felt like an extra layer of, will I belong? Am I safe? So working through that on my own was and continues to be and will continue to be for a lifetime, a really deep and compassionate and curious and confusing and name any emotion under the sun experience. And I want to talk about that next episode. This episode, what I really want to talk about is neurodivergence through how I support my clients, how I offer assessments in a really different kind of way, and how that makes sense for what I've been doing the last couple of decades around supporting folks with complex trauma. I can't promise you that this episode is going to pull every piece together that you need to know. It's going to be some of this and some of that, and hopefully evoke some curiosity for your own further research and for more questions for me to be able to bring them over time here. Part of the major pause was, this is so much. This is so much to process. How do I put this into words? How do I put my love for this, my awakening around this in how incredible it is to support neurodivergent clients, to help them recognize their neurodivergence, and to support clinicians who work with them. And my words have felt stuck because it's so multi-layered, it's so nuanced. There's so much to know. And so I can't pack it all into one episode. It's going to be an unfolding over time, just like how I tell my clients at the end of every assessment when I'm working with helping diagnose either ADHD, autism, doing giftedness profiling, that this is a lifelong experience. It's a lot to learn, it's a lot to process, and it's a lot to kind of embody and unmask all the things we put on ourselves that we thought we needed to be, being neurodivergent in a neurotypically dominated world, that we can unpack things slowly together. And it takes time. So my biggest fear in this episode is that I'm going to make no sense, have said nothing important, just confused a lot of people, be called out for not being an expert. And, bring it on. I want to do my best to share from my heart how this has unfolded for me, both professionally and personally, because I wish I had known about what I'm learning now in grad school all of those years ago, and in all of those trauma trainings and in all of those other trainings. There was such a massive piece missing. And the reality is we don't know what we know until we know. And, we're all lifelong learners. We couldn't have known until now. And so we're in this together. I want to break down some of the words that I'm using that may or may not be new to you. And these episodes will hopefully be helpful for you, whether you are a practitioner or whether you're someone on your own healing path, or whether you know somebody on their own healing path, and support them. So neurodiversity is a term that includes all of the different kinds of brain wiring and neurology that we all have as humans. I like to look for neurodiversity-affirming practitioners, healthcare providers, people running groups and programs when I am looking for my own support, in addition to trauma-informed people, because that tells me that all of our differences are welcome and important, and there's space for what's here. Every part of us is welcome. So, neurodiversity includes all of us. Neurodivergent is a term used to describe individuals whose neurological development and functioning differ from what is considered typical, or maybe we call that neurotypical and sometimes allistic. Allistic is non-autistic, used most often like that when I hear it. Again, I'm willing to be wrong on some of these things, but use them as a door opening to deeper curiosity. Neurodivergent originated within the neurodiversity movement, which recognizes that there are variations in brain functioning and are a natural and valuable part of human diversity. And when we're neurodiversity affirming, we see value in all of the different kinds of wiring and neurology. And we see them as differences, not deficits. A lot of folks who come to me, I work also with Lindsay Macrith at Method, doing autism, ADHD, and giftedness assessments and profiling because we are neuroaffirming, because we see people and their wiring and their complexities as differences and not deficits. And so when we're doing diagnoses, we make damn sure that our clients know that these are often strengths, and it brings such a different sense of compassion instead of an experience of doom and gloom and, oh my goodness, I'm broken, which is the old paradigm. That's how the DSM-5 kind of sets it up. It sees everything as deficits, and it's just compared to a neurotypical dominant world. So I love being part of this movement that is saying, these are differences. These are what makes you brilliant, and they are so important. And how you've been functioning and probably not functioning very well and being exhausted trying to do that is because you're trying to fit yourself into a neurotypical paradigm. So neurodivergent can include experiences like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, Tourette syndrome, in some contexts, OCD, intellectual disability, sometimes epilepsy is included, sometimes highly sensitive people are included. And there are various kind of mental health experiences that folks fold into neurodivergent. So these are some of the main ones. And my particular diagnosis is AuDHD. And I got to learn that I'm gifted, which was so interesting. I would have never, ever thought. And so it's been so interesting to go, oh, no wonder I have felt so out of place. And like my brain isn't working the way I thought it was supposed to. And it's been such a relief to go, oh, that's why. Okay, now what do we need to do in order to kind of bring forward the support that's needed to really thrive with this set of wiring? So that's neurodivergence. It's when we're neurodiversity affirming, we are looking through the lens of strengths, of highlighting different forms of processing and sensing and relating and learning in ways that are empowering, are highlighting the brilliance, the beauty, the sophistication of the differences. I love, love, love the term neurocomplex. Lindsay, I believe, who I work with at Method, coined the term neurocomplex. And the way she describes it, it's the Gestalt interplay of neurodivergent wiring that includes increased complexity in the areas of cognition, sensory receptivity, cellular response, attention, creativity, and or intuition. Neurocomplex is an emerging and non-clinical term used to describe individuals whose inner experience and functioning are shaped by multiple intersecting neurological, cognitive, and psychological differences, often including autism and ADHD and giftedness, or ADHD and sensory processing differences, or autism and giftedness. It's that combined experience that creates that neurocomplexity, often complex trauma added with AuDHD or ADHD and complex trauma. You can see like the complexity of these combinations we could define as neurocomplex. Some other categories that we might see as neurocomplex might be synesthesia, gender nonconformity, non-heteronormative sexuality, and also chronic illness like Ehlers-Danlos, MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, migraine, POTS, and more. And that, to me, I see so many clients and have seen so many clients over the years with this kind of neurocomplexity who also have these kinds of chronic illness. And I just find it so interesting that we're just now starting to put together these pieces. It's like, oh, okay. So I like to use myself as a example because I don't really like to share about client experiences. But I have PMDD, premenstrual dysmorphic disorder, which is hell. Let me tell you, just hell. We should do a whole episode on it. That often is experienced by autistic women. And I have known I've had PMDD for years, but did not realize that those two are often, they go together. So it's like the more we start recognizing these patterns, the faster we can start uncovering some of the deeper things that are creating pain and suffering for us. Let's see. So one thing that has been really interesting to me is in learning and the supporting of late in life diagnosing, late in life autistic diagnosis of high masking folks, especially people socialized as women. There's this element of invisibility. There's a way that they or we have learned for so long to fit in and to put on certain types of masks so that we can belong and so that we can stay safe, which means that these folks are suffering from not being able to be fully seen. They are hiding with a disability because they're working so damn hard, often without even knowing it, to pass, to seem, in quotes, normal, which is often, that neurotypical standard of being and living in the world. We live in that neurotypical paradigm. And so one of the weights that high masking autistic folks tend to carry is that they can pass, that they aren't actually seen, even though on the inside they are struggling so deeply. And something that I hear so often is, I just thought everybody felt like this. And what folks I sit with are realizing is that their differences are different. Not everybody is creating scripts before they go to meet somebody for a coffee date. Not everybody is managing 1,000 pieces of sensory overload while they're, spending time with friends or multiple people. Not everybody is feeling an incredible amount of pain or discomfort in their body when they're sensing certain things that cause discomfort. And so this experience of passing coupled with self-judgment of like, I just thought I should be functioning differently. I thought everyone felt this way, creates just an intense amount of exhaustion. We feel invisible. We feel like we should be doing it differently, but there's a part I hear often inside people just say, I just felt broken. I thought I was broken. Or another thing I hear all the time is, I have been treating trauma for 30 years and nothing works. And once we shift the context to this might be autism, this might be ADHD, something like that, there's a whole new lens from which to look through, which is, oh my goodness, there's nothing here to fix. And I don't work with my clients who have experienced trauma and through a lens of like, we've got stuff to fix here. I always have looked through a lens of we heal through wholeness. We're not problems to fix or figure out, but the mental health field and coaching field as a whole really does re-perpetuate this incessant internal sense of something's wrong by always needing to have something to fix. And so when we're like, oh, it's autism, this is a brain wiring that you were born with, that you came in with. Oh, this is ADHD. It's brilliant. There's not a lot here to fix. There are pieces of support to bring in and to bolster. There's often some trauma to process of what, like, oh my gosh, my parent never was attuned enough to notice that I'm autistic, or I didn't get the support I needed. And I was working triple, quadruple time as my peers, just thinking that I was like getting it wrong. There's so much pain to process, but we come at it through a lens of deep, deep, deep self-compassion and relational compassion, and then just bringing in what kind of support and accommodations are needed in order to be able to really start to unmask if that feels safe enough and to go, who am I now? Who am I really? And like, what am I here to do in this world? There's so much possibility that can come when we stop trying to fix ourselves. It can be such a load off. I just want to take a breath because there's so many pieces here and there's so many nuances. And I'm speaking to a particular client base. My clients are all similar in that they're late in life diagnosed. Most of them are high masking autism or experience ADHD and just didn't know until late in life, and come with levels of trauma that comes from masking so much and feeling out of place, come with other levels of relational trauma or shock trauma. And so we can see how complex it can be. There's so much to tend to and to hold and to be really gentle with and curious with. And the thing that I love most about autism is that it's a spectrum. And no, it doesn't mean a lot of autism or a little. It means there's an infinite number of the ways that autism is expressed. And so if you have one person who's autistic over here and another person who's autistic over there, same with ADHD or AuDHD, that it's going to look different in everyone. Yes, there will be some commonalities and some things to share that's like, oh my goodness, you do that too, like stimming or all sorts of things that meet the criteria, but we'll do it in our own way. And that just lights me up. And it's like when we support our people to really go, it's safe to experience this, it's safe to be this in the world. It's like, oh, so what's your flavor? What's your version of that? And what's your version of that today? It can be different tomorrow. It can change every day. So it's just a really special opportunity to get to be there in this process. And I feel like the luckiest practitioner in the world to get to support every single one of my clients always. And with this new piece of adding assessments, I have had just a whole new level of compassion unfold as sitting with folks who are just learning about themselves in this way, maybe for the very first time, and getting to be a practitioner who's also a therapist, who's also a coach for about 20 years, who has that relational depth and care. I feel so honored because I tell myself the story that the folks who come to me for assessments, they get to feel seen, they get to feel validated, they get to feel heard maybe for the first time in their life, whether or not they're diagnosed with anything. And then they don't feel like it's not a medical model diagnosis. And yes, there are ways to do that compassionately and relationally, but I feel like it's the highest honor to be in a therapeutic role, offering an assessment, helping people really understand themselves more deeply and to have to be a therapist. Also, I'm not checking boxes. I'm not looking at what's wrong. I'm not looking what's here to fix. I'm not looking at deficits. It's just this experience of wonder and curiosity and really looking through the eyes of love at all of these differences and all of these struggles and all of these challenges, and to get to see somebody and share that back with them of like, this is incredible. And of course you're struggling. Of course you have pain the way you've felt pain for so long because of X, Y, and Z. And it's such a collaborative, powerful experience to just like get to learn someone and spend so many hours with them talking about like how life has gone all the way back to now. Something I've been seeing happening in recent, just this last month and a half, is assessments went from like wait list to crickets because of what's going on, I think, politically in the US. And one of the things that it feels so important to say is with me or with Method and, a lot of other therapists who do this work, that your diagnosis and or diagnoses, that's yours. That's for you. You get to share it with the world or not. You get to share it with your medical providers or not. And we treat this work as deeply sacred, and like you get to do whatever you want with this information. And it's really about, for me, like the assessments that I do that are about self-knowing, self-learning, instead of like just to get something to hand to an employer, although we can do that sometimes, it depends. But it's like the people that just want to know themselves more deeply and to really go, is this me? It's just the highest honor. And to keep folks safe so they get to have their knowing, they get to have their diagnosis. We're not telling the world, everything's 100% confidential. It just feels important to say that right now because I think a lot of people are afraid to be diagnosed, especially with autism, given what's going on and not knowing the full reality that, if you're diagnosed, that's yours. You don't have to share it with anyone. You just get it for your own self-knowing. And we hold that just so sacredly, and it's so important. And the piece of like you getting to know just for you, that's what's most important to me. And it can bring such freedom. I spent so much of my career hating diagnoses and boxes and like, why? Why do we need a diagnosis of ADHD or autism? Or isn't it all just dysregulation? Or isn't it all just trauma ultimately? And the question that I've come to is no, no. Wiring is something we come in with. And then we layer trauma on top of it. There is dysregulation and regulation within all types of wiring. But the knowing of, oh, no wonder I feel the way I do. I'm autistic. Or it makes sense that I'm in a tug of war with myself all day, every day, and I'm exhausted. I'm AuDHD. Or no wonder I keep making crazy impulsive decisions with my budget. And I have like the biggest dreams in the world, but I can't quite get there. It's like, oh, that's ADHD. And when we look at it with the lens of, ah, isn't that interesting? Instead of how do we fix it? We just bring compassion in and we bring support in to like, how do we mitigate that so that you're winning with your strengths, like with ADHD and autism, we can experience this amazing amount of hyper focus or creativity. And it's such a gift. Neurotypical folks don't experience that level of focus and or creativity in that way. And so it's just amazing to get to shine a light on those things in such a positive way, to put some pieces together of no wonder you've been feeling the way you've been feeling. And sometimes these labels really, really help. And it took me a long time to get there. But because there's a difference, I'm not using that label to go, here's your disorder, and now you're stuck here. And now we're going to stigmatize you and keep you down because well, I don't believe that you can do XYZ. That's not where I'm going with that. It's not, I don't do diagnoses for insurance companies or insurance purposes. I never ever have because I don't want to play that game. I find it can be helpful for certain people at certain times, but I think the labels or the boxes in the way that we're doing these assessments, or I am, it gives people so much freedom. And really, they leave with just like, I can finally hold myself with compassion. I can finally let myself rest. I can finally advocate for the kind of care I need. I finally understand why my mom and I had such a hard time. You know, it just brings such a depth of understanding to be able to go, that's what this is, that's what this part of me is, and that's what that is. And it's such an exhale. And to be honest, for most, it comes with grief, it comes with rage, it comes with denial, it comes with so much. You know, a lot of the folks that come to me go, I don't know that I deserve to be here. Like, what if I'm not autistic? Or I really wish I was, but I don't think I am. Or they most people just kind of feel like they're not supposed to be doing the assessment for some reason, although they've been researching this for like years. And when I sit with them, I'm like, oh yeah, of course you're here. I see why you're here. This is so important and it's magical. It feels kindred to be here together because what I'm seeing and what I get to experience from you is something that needs to be known. And it's so important. And I would say that especially to folks who have spent decades trying to feel better. You know, autism specifically, I'll speak towards that. When I realized that I'm autistic, I remember just saying to myself, like when it finally hit, I thought, you know, for actually about 3 years, I was like, yeah, I'm probably autistic. And then I would go through months and be like, no, 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 no. That was just a bad bout of PMDD. And it wasn't like because autism is bad. It was because of the pain I felt from not being supported or recognized for 44 years or however many, you know, until I was diagnosed. It was like because now I would need to learn a whole new context and perception and perspective. And now I would need to learn how to like go on dates and feel safe in sharing who I was. And it wasn't because autism was bad. It was just because it came with like, oh my God, I've spent every single dollar I have ever made on trying to fix trauma. And yes, I had trauma, but the underlying wiring, my primary wiring was autism. And had I known that, I could have had a different kind of support. And so once I was like, yeah, I'm autistic, it's, you know, like it comes with joy too. It comes with, oh, a sense of belonging and community and getting to relate to other neurodivergent folks in a really new, fun way. And it comes with so much. So as a practitioner, I just love getting to be there, able to kind of see the nuances of how people are wired and the expression of that, and then how I can help them really emerge and feel better and better in who they are. And the way I do that, you know, in my nervous system support or therapy sessions or consults is really around like the more we can support a nervous system, the more we support our bodies to be safe, and the more we support our ability to unmask and take the layers off one by one slowly so that we can be as fully and completely ourselves, feeling safe and with a sense of belonging in ourselves and in the world. So the work looks really similar as it always has, but there's a new context and it's really fun to celebrate with people and to really get where they feel pain and have felt pain and help them kind of dream into possibility. So it feels like such an honor. And at some point, I'd really love to do an episode, I don't know when, around like what do we look for in ourselves and in our clients, depending on what kind of listener you are, for like, how would I know if my client is neurodivergent or neurocomplex? How would I know if I am? And so my hope is that like you're getting glimmers of that in this monologue, and that you'll get glimmers of that in the next episode when I share about my own journey. Maybe some things feel kindred to you, but it's not all going to be the same. Again, it's a spectrum, and there's so much to look for. But my hope is over time, the podcast will head in a direction where there's like a beautiful dance of how we truly can be trauma informed and neuro affirming, aware and curious of it all, and see how this all impacts us, and then how we can support ourselves and others to be more and more able to kind of step out into the world just as we are, feeling supported and connected. That's my hope. We'll see what happens. I, to be honest, have been also going through an experience of neurodivergent burnout unlike anything I've ever known. And part of it was really kind of coming to my own acceptance of everything I had gone through by myself without the support I needed on such a deep level for 4.5 decades. It just all really hit me. Part of it was some heartbreak, and part of it was, really fire hosing myself with so much information, just diving deep into this as one of my passionate interests as an autistic person, and kind of used all of my processing power to just embrace everything I was learning. And so that's been part of why you haven't heard from me here as well. Um, there's so much more to say, but I know I've been talking for a while, and I'm curious, as you're listening, what it's bringing up in you. I know that it can bring up a lot. It can go, oh my goodness, like, am I underserving my clients? Have I undersupported them? I don't know much yet. Oh my gosh, it could bring a sense of alarm. It could be, oh my gosh, maybe this is a piece for me to check out in myself. ADHD, autism, giftedness, sensory processing differences, you name it. Maybe you're thinking of a client or a friend or a family member, and it can be really easy to kind of fly into a state of urgency or alarm or numbness. And I just want to remind you that there's time, there's space. You are enough just as you are right now. And we are in this together. We're going to be learning together and in this unfolding together, because it's so important. And so my commitment to y'all is, no matter what I'm doing, a podcast episode, whether you're coming to me for a one-to-one nervous system support session, an assessment for autism or ADHD or giftedness profiling, whether you're coming to one of my programs, that it will be, and it is, highly neuro-affirming and not just trauma informed. Like, that's just surface level. It goes so deep into the bones of the work that I do, of just welcoming all of the pain and all of the misattunement, all of the disrepair, all of the feelings of not being seen, not being heard, not feeling like we're enough, feeling broken at times, that every part of you is always welcome, every single part. And there will always be compassion and warmth for you. There will always be curiosity. And if I ever don't know the answers, which will be true a lot, we will find them together. And this is a space of togetherness and not perfection. And that your humanity, your vulnerability, and your brilliance is all welcome, no matter how we meet, and whether it's here or there. I look forward to sharing the next episode with you. Let me know, please, how this lands. It feels wildly, wildly vulnerable to share. And I look forward to seeing what unfolds with you over time.